Okay, Jack, let's go now. I'm late. This is Boston 2, 7255, calling 727-2200. Hello, Susan, give me Nancy, please. Hello, Nancy?
This is the man I was assigned to follow. There are many ways to get to know about a man. You can study his past, read what he writes, hear what he says, talk to people who know him. But what gives you the best insight to his character and ability is to watch him in action. That's what I've been doing for the past several months. The man's name? Edward W. Brooke, candidate for the United States Senate. This is the office of the Attorney General of Massachusetts.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, sir.
Now, let me see
Mr. Brooke first occupied this room in 1962. He was re-elected in 1964.
divisions within the department, and I will want your recommendations, those of you who are division chiefs, and certainly I will want the recommendations of...
The meeting on the Attorney General's legislative program lasted over an hour. There would be 2 more staff meetings this day and another at night. I spoke with Nancy Porter, the Attorney General's secretary.
The Attorney General has always been very fortunate to receive a large number of speaking engagement invitations, both inside the Commonwealth as well as outside the Commonwealth. However, this year, since Mr. Brooke announced his candidacy for the United States Senate at the end of January, the number of invitations that we have received in this office, both by letter and by phone, has increased almost threefold.
At Chesterwood in Stockbridge, the occasion was the unveiling of the Lincoln statue by Daniel Chester French. Norman Rockwell was there.
Thank you. I have always admired Abraham Lincoln. Whether seated or standing, he is a man of great inspiration to all Americans. I have always admired Daniel Chester French. I come from Washington, D.C., and I used to go to the Lincoln Memorial and see the seated Lincoln and wonder about the genius of the man who had created it. And to think that at some time during my life that I would have an opportunity to unveil one of his statues is something that I could never have dreamed of.
Probably no other man in state public office receives so many invitations to be a guest speaker. More and more requests come from the college students all over the state. On one day alone, he appeared at 7 different schools.
I think that the greatest thing that you can hope for is to increase your knowledge about the world and its peoples. Our nation so great in a relatively few short years. Why are we so great today? Let me suggest to you that we are great because of the diversity in our nation. We took the best brains and integrity and the ambition from people who came from England and Ireland and from Italy and France and from Poland and Germany, from Asia, from Africa, from all over the world, literally. But this melting pot was never intended to produce a bland American, an American who looks like his neighbor, dresses like his neighbor, acts like his neighbor, and even worse, thinks like his neighbor. Magnificent pluralism has made us strong. And the priest who made the simple statement, the priest who became a pope and said, "Open up the windows and let the fresh air in," was not talking about a bland religion or a single religion. He was talking about understanding and respect for the religion of others, as we have understanding and respect for the diversity of others. Let us dedicate ourselves anew to the greatness and to the strength of America, to the wonderful heritage of America. And let us say that we recognize that though this nation is great, it has many problems which still must be solved, problems which you as the trustees of posterity must solve. And so I commend to you for your thinking a total commitment to excellence, a total commitment to humanity.
He usually gives a short address of 15 to 20 minutes and then asks for questions from the audience. The questions are usually thoughtful and probing questions concerned with the problems facing the world today. I found that Mr. Brooke particularly enjoys the lively give and take of these discussions, and the students seem to enjoy it too. I followed Mr. Brooke to his summer home on Martha's Vineyard. He spent most of the weekend working and studying. I asked Mr. Brooke why he encouraged his audience to question him, since most politicians prefer to tell the people only what they want them to hear.
Well, frankly, I believe that it's more important to listen to people so that you will know what they think. And though I have great respect for the past, I am more concerned about the present and the future. And young people are the key to the present and certainly to the future. And so I encourage their questions. And I find that they are very much interested in what's happening in the world today, what's happening in Vietnam. They're interested in the social problems confronting this nation and confronting the world. And I gain much insight into the future by talking to young people and listening to young people and discussing their problems as they see those problems. We should specify the limits of our action in
The only times I've seen Mr. Brooke use a prepared speech is when he first delivers an address relative to his official position on a specific issue.
A proposal for withdrawal or escalation is not a political policy, but only an avoidance of real solutions. Withdrawal would be a denial of the commitment we have made to South Vietnam, and an outright surrender in the test of strength we have engaged in to stop the spread of communist regimes by force or terror. Escalation by itself can be a blind, limitless policy, a policy with no purpose, and a military operation in which we gradually relinquish options to limit the war and provide for negotiations. It is not our purpose, nor is it in our interest, to occupy and run Vietnam. Our policy must be designed to support the South Vietnamese people in their determination of their own future. To end this war, we must create the political and military conditions that will stabilize a climate for negotiations. We should state clearly that we do not intend to expand the war. We should extend our programs of social and economic reform. We should give priority attention to political development. We should expand the authority of the International Control Commission over the demilitarized zone between North and South Vietnam. We must not allow the war to spill over to neighboring Cambodia. We should avoid bombing civilian population and prevent action that might trigger entry of communist Russia or communist China into the war. We should seriously consider the proposal for an Asian-sponsored peace conference, and we should actively seek and encourage new forums for political discussion and support all moves that lead to a democratically elected civilian government in Vietnam.
This day was a very special day for Mr. Brooke. Most of his audience would have to read his lips to understand him. He was to give the commencement address to the graduating class of the Clark School for the Deaf. Most of the time, he speaks to his audiences without the aid of a script or notes of any kind. His words are not created by scriptwriters or political advisors. He says what he believes. The thoughts he expresses are his own.
What we have been clamoring for, unfortunately, is a common man, when what we really need is the uncommon man, one who thinks originally and who creates and who respects individuality. The world exists for people, for individuals, more than it exists for nations and notions and schemes and systems. And our job is to make the world free and safe for people, and fit for people to live in.
I was beginning to realize the enormous demands that are made of people in high public office, not only during office hours, but on evenings and weekends. I had no idea how strenuous it could be until I accompanied him to a parade. I began to wonder why a man like Ed Brooke would run for a public office, so I asked him about his purpose and motivation.
I remember as a young boy living in a cocoon in Washington, D.C. I lived in a segregated society. As a Washington resident, we were denied the right to vote. We really weren't participating in government. And I've always believed that man was intended to participate to the extent of his ability and his God-given ingenuity. And I feel that in order to have the society in which we want to live, the quality of the education of our young people, housing, all of those things that are important to people, they can only be obtained if we are active participants in government and in politics. And if we don't participate, if we don't voice our opinions, if we don't use our right to vote, and those who have an interest and have some ability to be active candidates for public office, then actually we are sitting by the side of the road and really watching the race of man go by.
As I traveled with Mr. Brooke, I often heard people ask about the accomplishments of the Attorney General's office. Mr. Brooke always pays tribute to the men and women who have served with him and refers to them as my competent and dedicated staff, and their record is my record. What is that record? I decided to investigate it myself. This is what I learned. Working with the Massachusetts Crime Commission, they have organized, prepared, and presented information and evidence of wrongdoing to grand juries and then vigorously prosecuted the resulting criminal cases. They have protected the people of Massachusetts by rewriting the state's search warrant law so that the police are able to do a more effective job. They stopped Operation Road Watch, thereby protecting every individual's right to privacy. They have recovered hundreds of thousands of dollars by prosecuting contractors who have defrauded the Commonwealth and the cities and towns by bid rigging, overcharging, and price fixing. They fought exorbitant land damage claims, saving the Commonwealth over $13 million in just 1 year. They drafted, filed, and secured adoption of much reform legislation. The public charity laws now protect the citizens from fraudulent solicitation. Public authorities are now required by law to have open meetings. Their books are now audited annually by the state auditor. Now the law requires that interest rates and hidden carrying charges on all installment sales contracts be fully disclosed to the buying public. During my investigation, I spoke with Bill Cowan and Ed Martin of the Attorney General's office.
I think one of the best things that we've done while we've been in office has been to develop a new administration of the eminent domain laws. There was a time not too long ago when people's land and property would be taken, and the state would offer them $1. After receiving the $1, the burden was then put upon these people who had already been hurt badly enough by having their land taken to go to court and sue the Commonwealth for the rest of their money. Now this is all over. One of the earliest things that the Attorney General did upon coming into office was to contact various land-taking agencies in the Commonwealth, such as the Department of Public Works, the Turnpike Authority, and the like, and develop procedures with them whereby people would be offered and would receive fair value for the property that had been taken. It put the Commonwealth into a moral position as far as the taking of land was concerned, which frankly, prior to this administration, it had never had before.
As you know, the Attorney General is the ultimate legal advisor to all branches of the state government. We have 144 different departments in state government comprised of some 229 separate subdivisions. Now, to cope with this immense task, Mr. Brooke, in coming to office, set up 13 separate divisions and installed at the head of each a chief who was an expert in the particular phase of the law. We had perhaps 700 applicants looking for the approximately 44 positions. We are still getting a flood of applications from some of the brightest young legal minds in the state who want to be part of this staff. Perhaps one of Mr. Brooke's greatest accomplishments has been the installation of a truly professional atmosphere in the Department of the Attorney General. We operate with one simple mandate, that our decisions and our opinions be legally correct and morally sound.
Having seen for myself the tremendous effort and enthusiasm he puts into his work, I questioned Mr. Brooke's mother about the source of his energy and his drive.
I don't know what drives him. I think anything that Eddie likes, he just goes on and pushes himself in it.
I understand your husband was an attorney. Do you think that's the reason your son became interested in law?
Well, I won't say that because I remember when my son was quite young, he always said he wanted to be a surgical doctor. One time I thought my son was going to be a minister. I really did. Because he started to carry the cross when he was about 7 years old. We're Episcopalians. And he carried that cross until he went to college. And then after that, our bishop made him lay reader of our church. And when he was a little boy, about 13 years old, he used to preach. He did. 13? Yeah. And that's when I really thought he was going into ministry. He had my dining room every evening, Friday evenings, lined up with chairs all across the floors. And the kids would come in, the schoolmates, and take their seats and bring up their money collection. He would get up and preach, because he knew the service from A to Z, you know. Being on there that long, you know, he would. So after the service was over, he would have them to come up and get the money. Never kept any of the money.
The date was June 25th, the day of the Republican State Convention. The enthusiasm for Mr. Brooke was overwhelming.
What's your name, sir? My name is Roger W. Bruce.
From where?
From Worcester, Massachusetts.
I noticed you're wearing a Brooke button. Why?
Because I've always been for Brooke since the very first time I met him, and I always will remain for Brooke.
As a candidate for United States Senator, I think he's a great man of great integrity, and a man who can really lead the Republican Party to victory in November.
Well, I don't think there's anyone more sincere and more honest to Republicans or Democrats or independents than Attorney General Brooke.
I believe in his integrity and in his high purpose, and I think he will make a wonderful United States Senator.
Well, because I think that Ed Brooke is one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life. I've known him for maybe 6 or 8 years, and I think he's the greatest campaigner and the greatest... I just can't say any more about him.
nominate a man who has been proven incorruptible in government and in politics. A man who has won the deepest respect and confidence of voters of this Commonwealth, both Republican and Democratic and independent. A man whose life has been characterized by a special appreciation of and concern for the dignity of the individual.
This man has demonstrated integrity and a tremendous capacity for work, which has enabled him to meet all of the challenges which have come his way.
And I think the fact that he is an Attorney General and has made good up here lends strength to his qualifications. And I think he will win. And I'm confident that when he gets down there that he'll work under Senator Dirksen and for the best interest of the party and of our government and country.
Since I have this opportunity to talk to people across this Commonwealth, let me also express my profound appreciation to the Democrats and Independents who have joined with the Republicans in the last two elections to give me such overwhelming victories, but more important, their confidence and their trust. And I trust that they will join again with the Republicans in 1966, and that I will merit that trust, that confidence that they have placed in me. Have you got one of our buttons?
What?
Have you got one of our buttons?
Yes.
Have you? Good, okay. Well, here, let me put one on you, all right?
Thank you.
Good, thank you for wearing it. It is not just my struggle in which I am presently engaged. It is the struggle of many people. I am just a symbol as any other man or woman who runs for public office. I need the help, the support, the confidence, and the prayers of hundreds of thousands of people to be successful in this campaign.
2 weeks later, the Brooke headquarters was officially open and the campaign got into full swing.
He can work 16, 18, 20 hours a day. If his own efforts alone could dictate the outcome of this contest, I could tell you that I'd be willing to bet that Ed Brooke will be our next United States Senator.
His personality is a very appealing one, and his charm is very appealing, and he makes you really feel that he's grateful for what you're doing for him. I like that.
I've served under him as a special assistant, and I think he is the outstanding candidate in the country for the United States Senate.
I'm definitely for Ed Brooke. I have known Ed Brooke longer than anyone else has in the city of Boston. I served with him in the Army, and I have known of his ability as my company commander through the years in the 366th Infantry. And when you think that you can still be with a company commander, I think that's why you ought to still be with a senator.
I'm wearing the Brooke button because I think he's probably one of the grandest men in public life that we've had in our state for many a year. And he'll be a very worthy successor to Leverett Saltonstall.
My husband is campaigning very hard now, and we don't see him too much at home. The children miss him, and I miss him too. He would like to continue to serve the people of Massachusetts as United States Senator.
The hectic days that followed offered very little time for relaxation. During those infrequent periods, he would escape to Martha's Vineyard to be with his family. And I remember on one such occasion, I asked him to discuss the kind of man he thinks a United States Senator should be.
If I were to choose a United States Senator, I would look for a man who is cautious and deliberate. Certainly he would have to have integrity, intelligence, wit, and even humor. A man who was interested in national affairs, affairs of people at home, but equally interested in affairs in the world, international affairs, problems, hopes, aspirations of people in the most undeveloped and faraway places across the world. I would look for a man who was calm under fire, who gathered the facts, who spoke when he had something to say and didn't speak when he had nothing to say, who was not afraid to make decisions without concern for whether they were popular or unpopular, whether they were conservative or liberal or moderate, whether they were even Democratic or Republican, but a man who would make decisions based upon what is best for the people of this country and for the people of the world. And I think I would look for a man who had spiritual and moral values. I think there's a great need for both in the world today. Now, I know that these are many qualifications and a lot for any man, but I hope that I can measure up to some degree to these qualifications, and I hope that I will be able to make a contribution in the United States Senate.
What kind of a senator will Ed Brooke be? What will he contribute to the destiny of this nation? To answer these questions, you have to know the man, study his past, read what he writes, hear what he says, talk to people who know him, watch him in action. That's what I've done, and that's how I got my story.
What kind of man do you want for your United States Senator? A creative man concerned with practical problems and a solution to those problems? A man whose judgment you can trust? A man who has won the respect and admiration of hundreds of thousands for his vigorous leadership as Attorney General? A gentleman who is calm under pressure? A man you can believe in and be proud of? A man of integrity and high purpose. If you believe that Ed Brooke is that kind of man, your vote for him on Election Day will help make him your next United States Senator.